Merab the cardio freak Dvalishvili
Merab Dvalishvili
set to fight Henry Cejudo at UFC 298. I absolutely love this matchmaking between two guys that have excellent wrestling. Merab, MMA pressure wrestling. Cejudo, Olympic gold medalist, Triple C, trying to make a run at the world title again after a recent loss to Aljamain Sterling. And it couldn't be a harder matchup. It's the training partner of Aljamain Sterling. It's a guy that could potentially out-wrestle the gold medalist Cejudo. I think this is a great fight. In this video, I want to drop my early prediction for it, discuss the matchup, talk about the implications. So make sure you guys smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe. Let's first talk about some recent opponents for both of them. Cat out the bag right away. Henry Cejudo retired.
I'm retiring tonight, Joe. I'm 33 years old. I'm happy with my career.
He decided, hey, I'm going to give it a break. I think I'm done. Now, granted, I believe after he beat Dominic Cruz nearly 4 years ago now, that was more of a marketing ploy. I think that was a negotiation tactic for the UFC to try to give him maybe a super fight or more money. Didn't get that. Took some long time out of the game and now made it back, fighting Aljamain Sterling earlier this year and losing a split decision in a fight where he did pretty well. Even losing to Aljo, I mean, to go long, lose it by a split decision. And overall, I think that he proved that he still has a pretty high tier game and is in very good shape. But nonetheless, it's 3 years and 7 months ago since his last win. By the time we get to this fight in February, it'll be nearly 4 years since Henry Cejudo has won a fight in the UFC, and he's facing off against Merab Dvalishvili, who's on a 9-fight winning streak. Now, I'm looking at Merab's side of recent opposition, and it stands out as impressive. He beat Petr Yan, who I believe, and I think many people believe, was the reason Henry Cejudo decided to take a hiatus and retire, because Yan was the challenger for Cejudo that I think he avoided. Because at that time, Petr Yan looked like the absolute boogeyman, and he's still a super terrifying guy in the UFC bantamweight division. But before Cejudo retired, you're talking about a Yan that had like an aura of invincibility about him. And I think a lot of people, me included, thought Yan would be live to knock out Cejudo at that time. Petr Yan bullied by Merab, got dominated in the fight. Pressure action style by Merab that he employs each and every time out was super effective against a Petr Yan who's definitely competent in the grappling, but more so the kickboxing and especially the boxing style. Before that, you look at the legendary name, Jose Aldo. Merab was able to outpress him, win kind of a boring decision, but nonetheless a deserving win for the side of Merab when he beat Aldo. And I mean, if you think about it, right, Volkanovski had that similar type success, being able to out-grapple, out-wrestle the side of Jose Aldo some years ago in featherweight. And Merab, with the win over Aldo, I'd say it's a great legacy win. And in a perfect world, he would have already fought Aljamain Sterling for the title before Henry Cejudo even made his comeback and challenged Aljo. But they're training partners. They refused to face off against one another. And then before that, he beat the legendary Marlon Moraes, but it was definitely a washed Marlon Moraes, and Merab was hurt badly early in that fight. And it seemed like Marlon might be, fixing that losing streak, getting a knockout, but no. Merab keeps coming. He is a cardio freak. He's in the best shape of anybody in the bantamweight division. He can keep that high pace for 5 rounds with a smothering, pressuring onslaught. Henry Cejudo retired. He came back to the game. He's 37 years of age. Though I still think he's in fantastic shape, that layoff did something. Not winning a fight in nearly 4 years is a factor coming in here against Merab, who's surging right now. And I definitely think Merab wants a chance to avenge his boy Aljamain Sterling against Sean O'Malley. Specifically because Aljo has decided he's going up to 145, which I like for Aljamain Sterling, just to throw that out there. I think that was the right move. Merab is a pressure workhorse wrestler who stays in his opponent's face. And Henry Cejudo knows this is the game plan he's going to have to deal with, right? Is that constant attack. How does he adapt? In MMA wrestling, It's not so much about Merab actually getting Cejudo down. It's the fact that he presses him backwards for significant amounts of time in the fight. I also feel like Henry Cejudo's best days are in the rear view. He retired once, came back, gave it hell against Aljamain Sterling, still wasn't enough and lost. Merab is surging as the next contender on the come up. To me, it makes a lot of sense that Merab Dvalishvili is not only going to win this fight, but I believe he's going to retire Henry Cejudo. Now, tricky situation. This is a UFC 298 main card fight as of right now. I think it's probably going to end up being the co-main event. My question that I'd throw out to the UFC is why not 5 rounds? Even though there is not a world title on the line between these two, if this was a fight night main event, it'd be 5 rounds. And this is a high stakes, true #1 contender fight between two guys that on paper would give Sean O'Malley a pretty difficult out. Now, we know O'Malley's got a fight booked against Marlon Chito Vera, that rematch, which is, I don't want to say O'Malley's Dana White privilege, but it kind of is. It's like that superstar privilege that they give him a Vera who's on just a 1-fight win streak. And it worked out that Corey Sandhagen was injured and unable to step in and fight. I think a lot of people, me included, would love to see the striking clash of the side of Corey Sandhagen and Sean O'Malley. But if Merab beats Henry Cejudo, how can you deny him a title fight with 10 wins in a row and a victory over a former 2-weight champ, Olympic gold medalist, Triple C himself? I think Merab is going to press Cejudo. In a 3-round fight, I can also see him giving Cejudo difficulty, but maybe Cejudo willing to take more risks trying to throw significant power shots that potentially deplete the gas tank to try and keep Merab off of him. I think he's going to need to sting Merab. I know Cejudo's the gold medalist wrestler, but Cejudo is dealing with a guy who doesn't stop coming forward. And I think Merab can also strike pretty well. And Merab has the win over the boogeyman that I think sent Henry Cejudo into his early retirement some years ago. I think Merab is going to end Henry Cejudo's career at UFC 298 because Cejudo is not a guy that's going to be like Tony Ferguson where he's going to go on a 6-fight losing streak and just keep on fighting just to fight to make that extra bread. Cejudo's set forever, and he's training a lot of guys too. I think Henry Cejudo is a tremendous mind of mixed martial arts. I think he's an epic trainer, and he's definitely got a bright future in building new generational talent. I could see world champions coming out of Fight Ready left and right. I mean, with Davison Figueiredo, look at what Cejudo's team was able to do with him. He looked like a killer against Rob Font again. And when he didn't train with Cejudo, Brandon Moreno got the better of him. But when he did, he beat Brandon Moreno pretty cleanly. I think that the best days are past Henry Cejudo. I think Merab Dvalishvili right now is surging. His gas tank is seemingly unstoppable. And I think Cejudo is going to struggle to deal with a guy that has so much hunger, so much pressure. We're in this spot where I think Merab is going to thrive and shine. Whether it's 3 or 5 rounds, I see Merab beating Henry Cejudo by a decision and sending Cejudo into retirement. Because if the title picture is not in front of Henry Cejudo, he's going to have no interest in fighting up-and-coming guys like Umar Nurmagomedov, or even fighting guys that have already taken losses in the back end of the rankings, like a potential Rob Font fight. There's zero interest for Cejudo there. He wants the best of the best. He had a goal in mind. It was, I want to beat Aljamain Sterling, and then I want to try and challenge for the belt at featherweight against Alexander Volkanovski and become the 4C, you know what I'm saying? Quad C, 3-weight UFC champ and the Olympic gold medalist. I think it was a great idea, but it was wishful thinking because he couldn't get past Aljamain Sterling. And Merab is going to be a real tricky matchup too. The short, stocky stature. Both guys short and stocky though. Merab actually bringing in a 2-inch height advantage and half an inch in the reach here. I just think it's Merab's time. The pressure is going to be too much for Cejudo to deal with. I see him getting backed up. I see him getting broken. I see Merab winning the fight. And then eventually we have to give Merab a title shot now against Sean O'Malley. Let's be honest. If you're Sean O'Malley, are you fearful of this matchup, or do you want to prove a point that you can beat a pressure wrestler? Now you could say, oh, but he already knocked out Aljamain Sterling. True, but a different game Aljamain Sterling has than Merab. Merab is shorter, stockier, and he's confident as they come right now. And if he beats Henry Cejudo, that's going to be 10 wins in a row. And me personally, I would like to see the stylistic clash of the long, quick, and slick striker Sean O'Malley versus a powerhouse, dynamic, grappling pressure style. Realistically, it's straightforward action, but I think Merab's stand-up gets slept on a bit. He's a pretty quality kickboxer, and he's got a crazy gas tank, which makes his striking even better. And I think that he could give O'Malley difficulty closing that gap on him, and I see him potentially smothering O'Malley for a lot of that fight. Now, actually thinking about that matchup when it plays out, if Merab was unable to finish O'Malley on the ground, O'Malley will always be live to chin someone, even as durable as Merab. But that's a matchup that I think we're going to get potentially at the end of 2024. Now, I know the UFC might go money-minded with O'Malley and try to go like the boxing treatment route, right? Because he already said, hey, I want to fight in boxing. He called out some of the champions there, and he's kind of the closest thing we can get to a Conor McGregor in MMA right now. But he doesn't have the trash talk game like that. Sean O'Malley doesn't have the same personality as McGregor, but he does have a huge fan base, and a lot of the casuals are always tuning in to watch Sugar Show. But if you're a hardcore of hardcores, you know that the winner of this fight between Merab Dvalishvili and Henry Cejudo is so live to beat Sean O'Malley, it would have to be made. Now, as far as the betting side, we don't have official odds for the Merab Dvalishvili and Henry Cejudo fight just yet. But how I'm looking at it is I expect Merab to be sitting around that minus 170 range as a favorite at open. Could see it as far as minus 200, but I think more so minus 170. Could see it drop to minus 150. He's going to be a favorite against Henry Cejudo, and that's just because of the career momentum that he has right now. And I think the stylistic clash that I have to say, I think it favors the pressure wrestling. As good as a wrestler as Cejudo was on the mats, MMA pressure style, Merab is unlike anything he's faced before, and I'm very excited to see them face off. And I'm hoping for 5 rounds, praying for 5 rounds. We need 5 rounds between these two. Merab's going to retire Cejudo. What do you want for Cejudo after this? Is he going to go up to 145 and try and fight a super fight versus, I don't know, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega? I doubt it. I mean, maybe. I'd kind of be down to see him try to move up a weight class to 45 if he loses again here at 135, but I don't suggest to you that he'd fare all that well against the upper echelon. And on paper, to me, I think Merab is a super nightmare matchup for Cejudo at this point. That inactivity, being off for nearly 4 years, coming back and losing to Aljamain Sterling, even though it was a close fight, it's a different style with Merab. And I got to say, if you ask me who I think is hungrier, it's Merab all day. He wanted this fight really badly, and I think he loves this matchup. He sees a path to victory over Cejudo, and beating the Olympic medalist, especially if Merab is able to land some takedowns and put the gold medalist on his back for his career, for his stock, for his own self-confidence, it's going to be higher than it's ever been before. The pick is Merab in this fight. I've been wanting to make a video discussing this matchup for a while, actually, since they announced it a few days ago. I said, you know what? Today's the day. I got to set this video up. Merab is my pick to win. I'm telling you, I think he's going to retire Henry Cejudo. This will probably be the last time we see Cejudo make that walk. After the fight, what he's going to say is, listen, if titles are out of the picture, I don't think I'll be fighting anymore. I don't see a title next time out, so I'm going to lay the gloves down. Similar to what Daniel Cormier did after his loss to Stipe Miocic, because he's not interested in non-top tier fights. Now you could say, oh, but this isn't a title fight. Yeah, but it's a number 1 contender fight. And we know that Cejudo is probably promised a title shot with a win, as Merab should be as well. And Merab, I think, moves it to double-digit win streak, 10 in a row, beating Henry Cejudo and becoming the rightful challenger. And I want to see wrestler versus striker, O'Malley versus Merab. The height difference is going to be cool to see. And obviously, Merab's going to have a bit of extra vengeance heading into that fight because Sean O'Malley took out his boy, KO'd Aljamain Sterling. He's going to want to get that back for the team, no doubt about it. That is the pick right there. Merab for the win. He's going to be a favorite too, and he's going to retire Triple C Henry Cejudo at UFC 298, which is a pretty damn stacked card that I'm excited for. 298's bringing the heat. Now, in other news, less urgent news, but there is a pretty big fight announcement at lightweight. Mateusz Gamrot is fighting Rafael Dos Anjos. I think it's a smart move for RDA to drop back down to lightweight in a stylistic match with Gamrot. That gets me excited as hell. And that kind of came out of nowhere because I thought that Dos Anjos might be considering staying at 170 and giving up the weight cut, but I guess not. He must see Gamrot there's a potentially winnable fight, and count me in to see that matchup. I'll be honest, early lean in that fight, though, we have to go Gamrot. He probably takes a decision off RDA. That makes a lot of sense to me. RDA legendary status for sure. But Gamrot, he's surging right now. That win over Fiziev was sick. That is the news. That is the excitement. Guys, if you enjoyed this news reaction, drop a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let me know. What do you think in the comments below? Am I wrong about Merab winning? Am I even more wrong about Henry Cejudo retiring after this fight? I want to hear what the people are thinking. Let your boy know. If you got nothing to say in the comments, but you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.